Oh, dude, we're good. We're fucking, you'll laugh, but once we start the show, you'll find out what I'm drinking, and I'm embarrassed to tell you what I'm drinking. So
you should be.
Okay.
I should be embarrassed. I am fucking embarrassed.
I'm embarrassed to sit next to you.
Dude, is there anything off topic that you want me to avoid?
No.
Okay, good. And then secondly, well, I'm going to ask you about like screenwriting and stuff like that at some point. Is that something you're cool talking about?
Yeah.
Okay.
Just
cool.
I think I might have mentioned that I got that movie optioned.
Yeah, no, that's why. But I don't want to say anything.
I don't want to
without
talk
you
about
saying
it because then I feel like I'm going to jinx it.
Yeah.
Cool.
Like if
you're good. No, that's fine.
Once it's like set up, and we have a star attached and everything. We have a director, but it's too early. I don't want to be that guy.
Fair enough, dude. So I totally get it. No, but I could say screenwriter is what I'm saying.
Sure.
Okay.
I mean, you can say, yeah, I just had this movie. I mean, yes, I just don't want to go into detail about it.
No, but if you don't even want me to mention that for jinxing purposes, I won't.
No, you can mention it. For sure.
All right, cool. Just
yeah,
I have like respect for like my guests, unlike Megan. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, I'm a dick.
If I don't want to talk about it, I'll just say, you know what? I don't want to talk about that.
Okay. All right, cool. All right, let's do this. So her and I talk shit for just a couple minutes, and then I'll intro you in. Does that work?
Sure. Do I need to just be quiet, or you're gonna turn my mic on then?
No, your mic will be on, I guess.
Yeah, you can be quiet or make noise. It doesn't matter.
Yeah,
okay. We'll intro you in.
We'll intro you in.
You can make some weird noises in the background.
Yeah, okay. I mean, whatever. You can serenade us. All right. And 3, and dude, feel free to stop at any time if we need to cut something out or anything. You just let us know and we'll keep going. Sure. All right, cool. Hello. Welcome to Kill the Bottle Podcast. Eddie's Mora, aka the Yum Yum Foodie here, and again next to me is Megan Elizabeth.
I didn't mean to.
Yeah, I know. She didn't mean to.
This was an accident.
Really?
Showing up here.
Yeah, I have a weird knock on my door. And, first of all, I'm like, why is this white lady knocking on my door? Because I just see a silhouette.
Do you have time to talk about Jesus?
Yeah, I was like, my joke always with Jehovah's Witnesses was like, unless you're Prince, don't knock on my door. And Prince is dead. So you know what? Nobody should be knocking on my door at this time. But no, it was Megan Elizabeth, a pleasant surprise because I had only one mic set up.
I was in the area.
Yeah, she was in the area, and I think she just wanted free booze.
I did.
Don't bullshit me. Megan was like, I can go home to a house of no booze because she's just getting off her whole 30, or I can show up at Eddie's house, who has a fully stocked bar.
And you denied me for the first fucking 30 minutes. You
really?
Denied me.
Well, yeah,
like you're
I denied
my fucking
you.
Dad.
Yeah, I kind of am because your dad's handing you Fireball. Okay, so I think I'm probably a better father figure right now at this point. Your teeth are beautiful thanks to your dad, but your Fireball habits are not.
Why aren't you drinking, Eddie? Why don't you explain that to us?
Man, okay, so it is called Kill the Bottle Podcast. Megan's drinking some bourbon. God bless you. I'm drinking, but I'm not drinking today. So. On Sunday morning, I had a friend visiting from out of town, and we went to this vegan restaurant in LA, and the food's delicious, but it sat in my stomach for a good 28 hours, this vegan breakfast that I had, and it was like a friggin' cinder block in my stomach. I don't know how to explain it to you, but I had, I ate brunch, breakfast, whatever. I ate at like 10:30 in the morning. It's like 7 o'clock at night, and it feels like I'm still full. And then I proceeded to cook steaks for my neighbor for his birthday, with like
stole your gifts.
Not that neighbor. No. The neighbors that I like. And nice. with like brown butter and a port wine reduction with shallots and mushrooms. I made these fucking bomb ass fillets. But again, that fillet sat in my stomach like a cinder block again. So Monday, I just fasted, which I've never done before. And it went away. I'm like, I'm better now, but now I'm like scared to drink for like a day. So what I am drinking is a non-alcoholic, like tequila fizz. I know, dude. So they sent me this bottle, and I don't even want to give them a plug, but fuck it. This is what I'm drinking. It's called Clean Co, and it's called Clean Tea. So it's supposed to, T stands for a tequila alternative. I mean, I will say here, like the same reaction I gave to Fireball. It's not terrible. It's fine. It tastes like something. Does it taste like tequila? I'll leave that to you. But you know, it tastes fine. It's fine. It's tolerable. And then I just put some like Soda Stream fucking what it tastes like I'm drinking is like a sugary Japanese highball. It tastes like I'm drinking, but whatever. That's fine.
But you wait until I start drinking to not drink. Thank you.
Yeah. Well, you know, it's just for I promise you, I will drink.
Whatever.
I don't know, next time, maybe. Speaking of what we're drinking, that really alludes me to our guest. You like that?
Wow.
You like that fucking segue? Oh, you are welcome. This is professionalism at its finest. But our guest is a writer. He wrote, well, first of all, he wrote the I'm Biber column for Playboy magazine. He's a regular on the Adam Carolla show. And speaking of what we're drinking, he hosts the What We're Drinking with Dan Dunn podcast. Welcome to Kill the Bottle podcast, Mr. Dan Dunn.
Hi, how are you?
Hi. How you doing, Dan Dunn?
Man, I am impressed by that smooth segue. I just made a note to myself, work on my segues. How you just went seamlessly from that terrible thing you're drinking to folding in my show and everything into there. So that's great.
Yeah. And you know, and I'm a fan of your show. I was lucky enough to be a guest on your show, and it was a lot of fun to be on. If you folks jump on, he's on every platform, I think, if I'm not mistaken, because I listen to you on Spotify, but I think you're on every platform.
I just pulled my stuff off MySpace. In solidarity with
better late than never
with Neil Young. In solidarity with Neil Young, I took all my shit off MySpace.
Better late than never, which is funny because I had that meme pop up where, you know, it's like Nickelback is warning that they're going to start adding music to Spotify.
When is this going up? Is it going to still be relevant, the Spotify talk?
You know what? People are so late with everything and they're so ahead of it. I don't fucking know.
Next week, but the MySpace, you're right on with relevancy. So keep on it.
Yeah, it'll be on next week.
It's an interesting thing. You know, I love Neil Young. I have a lot of respect for Neil Young, and I certainly don't have any dogs in this fight, so I don't want to get it. But I'm always hesitant when these bans happen, and to put it into a context of sort of the space that I live in. I remember years ago, the Russian government, which you'll be shocked to learn are not kind. They're not nice to gay people, right? The Russian government. So years ago, they passed these laws, really onerous laws, basically making it being illegal to be gay in Russia, right? And there was a lot of violence there. And you remember there were protests going on for the Olympics and whatnot. And then one of the things that happened, I remember back then, was to protest this institutionalized bigotry of the Russian government. Gay bars across the U.S. started dumping Russian vodkas, particularly the biggest selling Russian brand, which is Stolichnaya Stoli. And Dan Savage, and I love Dan Savage, right? Gay rights icon. He's just a fucking right on. Can I curse? Yeah, I can.
Yes.
Right on, dude.
Don't fucking curse on our show.
So he spearheaded this boycott, and he urged his readers and listeners to refrain from quaffing Russian vodka to show solidarity with, you know, the queer community in Russia, obviously. And you know, and it sounds like a great cause, but here's the thing when you get into the weeds with this stuff is, again, I love me some Dan Savage. I've been reading him since the early 90s, and he's great. Stoli was originally produced by the Russian government, but after communism went belly up, most of it has been, they were bought by a holding company called SPI Group. Most of it, the Stoli that was being produced outside the country, and they're headquartered in Luxembourg, right? As far as I know, the worst thing that like Luxembourg's ever done is give Monaco the occasional titty twister. You know what I mean? So again,
yeah, it's like the flyover state for the Tour de France. That's what Luxembourg is, basically.
Yeah, and in fact, I remember back at the time, the SPI, the Stoli's company, the parent company, came out against this ban, and they were like, "No, man, we're standing with the community and all that." And it just got, you know, where does it stop when you start down? I remember thinking about it back then. I'm like, all right, so now we're banning vodka, and if Stoli's got to pay the price, like what else? Like limes, right? Do you know where limes? I'm gonna quiz here. Do you guys know where limes are believed to have originated?
Not my front yard.
No, anybody?
No.
I
Russia.
Megan.
No,
Megan.
I don't know.
Malaysia. It's true. I looked
Okay.
it up.
Interesting.
I looked it up
I Googled
on the Wikipedia, and
Wikipedia it.
Oh, you did your own research.
yeah, you know what else?
I've heard
comes
that
with
before.
Malaysia, some of the most barbaric anti-LGBT other nouns laws in the world. Like they'll kill you in Malaysia for being gay. So you still craving that handmade daiquiri at the Abbey with your limes? I don't think so, right?
Oh wow!
I'm just saying.
Wow.
Then you got
I know, right?
Jägermeister,
This got
Jägermeister, Lowenbrau, Rumpelmitz. Where did
Yeah.
that stuff come from? Germany. Now I don't know how many history buffs are
Don't
out
ruin
there,
Jaeger for me.
but Germany was responsible for some bad shit back in the day. I'm just
Do you know?
saying.
Wait, hold on.
Do you know of anybody who, present company excluded, who drinks Jägermeister that isn't a complete degenerate?
Excuse me.
I said present company excluded.
Oh, okay. I'm out of that too. Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Geez,
Asshole.
Hmm.
What? You are a complete degenerate, Megan.
You take it easy over there. Hey, look, Eddie, here's one thing I know about you, man. You like your wine, okay?
I do.
So think about this. Barolo, Chianti, Moscato, right? Stay with me here. Jesus turned water into wine, right? The Romans.
Yeah, that's the word around the campfire.
The Romans crucified Jesus. Coincidence?
Oof.
Open your eyes.
Look at that. Wow, dude. We took a deep fucking dive.
You threaten the Italian winemaker's profits, you get nailed to a goddamn tree. Right? This is what happened.
That's a valid point.
Yeah,
that's a valid point.
I never.
And I do
thought
have
of
one
it
more
that
for you.
way.
There's also a Pilsner called Batten Eldel Pils. Okay. It's a Pilsner style beer. It's produced in Luxembourg. So remember how earlier I said it was a harmless country? I was just throwing you off the scent. They have these puppy kilns in Luxembourg. Have you heard of these? Right?
No, doesn't sound like a place I want to visit.
You know why you haven't heard about it? Because that's the way Luxembourg wants it.
I'm listening. I'm hearing it
bitches.
now.
Yeah. They burn cute animals. They give titty twisters to their neighbors.
Dan, this is not why we invited you on.
Fuck Luxembourg.
What?
I guess the whole point is fuck Luxembourg. But here's my point. This is my point about all this. Seriously, humans are dicks. And if you rummage around in any country's closet long enough, you're going to find some gnarly shit, right? And if you start blackballing booze or Spotify and every country that's committed a or Joe Rogan that's committed a human rights violation, pretty soon you're left with nothing left to drink but Brennivin and Moosehead, and you can't listen to anything but Nickelback. Right?
Well, I think if you rummage around Megan's closet enough, you're gonna find some dicks. They're probably made of rubber and they're purple or something. But tons of them. I was gonna get your thoughts. Speaking of, I'm drinking this non-alcoholic tequila. Have you tried any of these like quote unquote like clean spirits?
You mean non-booze booze?
Yeah, non-booze booze. So basically sugar water that's supposed to taste like something else.
That's off-brand for me.
It is off-brand for you.
Yeah.
So what are your thoughts on that, dude? Do you have any and I mean, I guess it's an untapped market, so it makes sense for the mocktail group if they can, if they could sell something that tastes like something, give it a whirl. But
especially having gone through what we've gone through the last 2 years with this pandemic, I've really adopted sort of a que sera approach to life. I don't get what, if somebody gets off on, maybe somebody used to drink and now they can't drink anymore, which I get that. And maybe they still like something that reminds them of cocktails, and this helps them get through helps them carry on with their sobriety, or then more power to them. Right. I don't cover those things myself. I don't really, because if I want to drink something that has no alcohol in it, I'm not going to really drink something if I want to drink something that tastes like booze, I'm going to drink booze.
Yeah. I mean, fair enough. And most people are going to drink it for the effect.
I get it. Why there's a market for that,
Absolutely.
Although I this dry January thing, I have mixed feelings. In fact, you mentioned Corolla. I just did a thing on the Corolla show like 2 weeks ago, and I called it Wet February, getting ready. But it's a weird
Sounds nice.
I don't.
Yeah,
get
I'm.
it.
I did it. I do it. I think I do drink a lot. Like it's probably an issue. Like I drink a lot.
When you say probably an issue, it usually means it is.
It is. It's,
yeah.
So I like to give my liver a little rest. One month. I don't know if it does any fucking good, but it just feels better. And then I can also say like, no, I stopped for 30 days. I don't have a problem. You know what I mean?
Okay, yeah, fair enough. Because I'm like, okay, how about don't run for 30 days and then start running again? You're going to be exhausted. I think if you pace yourself and maybe just run a little bit,
Fuck off,
a few times a week, then you're your liver's in shape. But
I did it.
Your liver was probably like, oh my gosh, it's so amazing right now. And then I thought you punched it in the face yesterday with all your booze.
I did. Speaking of pandemics, Dan, you have a lot of books, and I had no idea. I'm impressed.
I own a lot of books. Is there
no, you have written
sneaking into my house when I'm not here.
Yes.
Well, I told her how much booze is in your house. So
yes,
she just snuck in, took pictures and stared.
I did start this relationship off as a huge crush on you. So yes, I've been totally stalking you.
Your Hemingway collection, Dan, is so impressive. By the way, I borrowed really? The Sun Also Rises. I borrowed that. Yeah.
Interesting.
I was just watching a mommy porn thing, and it was called The Sun Also Rises, but it was the Sun.
Oh,
S-O-N.
Yeah. Got it.
Yeah, that he
Stepson.
rises. So
Stepson.
No,
Stepson. Let's keep it fair.
This was straight up Sun. They were like, "Fuck it, we're going taboo. We're going full Curdy Stevens here." Does anybody know who Curdy Stevens is?
No.
Curdy.
Is it
so bad that I know
porn?
this? Curdy Stevens directed the original Taboo porn with Kay Parker and Paul Thomas or Mike Ranger. Excuse me, Mike Ranger. It's so bad that I know all this.
No, we should take a deep dive right into porn. Let's just go.
Well, hold on. Let's
oh, sorry. Am I going too fast? Let's go. Keep going, Dan.
So speaking of Taboo, what
you should be able to keep up, Eddie. You're not even. You're drinking this fake shit. You should be quicker on your toes.
I'm also trying to make sure that we keep sponsors, not lose sponsors.
See what I'm drinking? See what I'm drinking?
I have the whole portfolio of it behind me, but which one are you drinking? So you're drinking
Michter's US 1 Toasted Barrel Finish.
Oh, I have not had that one yet.
Got so many Michters.
I know. I have a shit, but Michter's has a lot of booze. They have a lot of great booze, so we're fans. I'm a huge fan of Michter's.
I'm a big fan as well. Do you know? All right, so just very quickly, so you know about Michter's. The lineage of Michter's it actually traces back to the oldest distillery in these United States, a place called Shanks.
In Pennsylvania, wasn't it?
Shanks was in Shaperville, Pennsylvania, I believe. 1756. Excuse me. It's the Coke.
I can smell that one.
Cocaine. Yeah.
Yes. I'm coming over.
Yeah. It predates the Revolution. It was called Shanks. And in fact, George Washington reportedly went to the Shanks distillery, loaded up on rye whiskey to fortify the troops while they waited out the winter at Valley Forge. So there you go. But it was Shanks. And then it became Baumburgers in the 1800s. Then they went out of business when Prohibition hit, like so many distilleries. And then after that, they came back. And a guy named, am I boring you yet with my booze knowledge? Okay, so.
But the funny part is we had an episode with Brad Williams, and we said this whole story.
Oh, no kid. Brad Williams, little Brad Williams, my buddy.
Yeah.
I love Brad. Brad's coming on.
That's what we were drinking.
He's little.
I mean, I'm not
being
but
mean.
I'm loving it because I'm not having to tell it. It's great.
Brad's coming on my show in a couple of weeks.
He has a brewery, by the way. You can ask him. His brother-in-law has a brewery. It's pretty.
Oh, no kidding.
Yes, we did.
He's brewing the beer.
A little bit of behind the scenes thing. You can ask him. He'll be impressed.
Well,
because he doesn't like to mention.
I won't tell the end of the story is that Joe Maglioka, the guy that now owns Michter's, bought the name. So Michter's was a mashup of Michael and Peter. Was Lou Foreman, the guy Brown Foreman. He changed the name in the 50s, and Joe bought this, I think, for like $1,500.
Jesus Christ.
The name.
And now he's on Billions. Now it's like the featured drink on the Showtime TV show Billions. That's all they fucking drink on Billions is Michter's whiskey. Yeah. No, I love the stuff. I mean, their 10-year, the 10-year bourbon is probably, the 10-year rye are probably my two favorites. I've had some of the higher end shit, which that already is expensive. Even I've had the other stuff and it's great, but When people are charging $700, $800 for a bottle of bourbon, I'm like, I gotta go. I guess that's a little.
Look at their. I just talked when I was on Corolla last time. I brought Michter's in, and I talked about the 20 year that released in 2018, and I'm throwing up a little bit in my mouth just saying it.
Huh.
I had a friend of mine that I traded him. He traded me this really nice couch that he was getting rid of, and I was giving him some booze, and I have a lot of alcohol here at the house, as you know, Eddie, and I was like, here, man, one day we're drunk, and I'm like, here, you know what, I owed him like $1,000, and I was like, I gave him some stuff, and I said, here, take this one.
Oh no.
And he's like, you sure? I'm like, yeah. He's like, you want to check? I'm like, it's all good, man. And it was the 2018 release of the Michter's 20-year-old. They're selling it now on their site. Take a guess how much it is on the website.
5 G's.
Higher.
More than 5 G's.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, you can have Megan for 5 G's.
Yeah.
No.
Right.
No shit.
No.
I was a little
I'll
less.
do it for 100.
$9,000.
Get the hell out of
How
here.
much I own my car.
Now, to my friend's credit, he offered to give it back to me. He said, dude, later when we realized how much it was worth, but to my credit, because I'm such a good dude, I said, keep it. How about that? See?
How much of it have you drank already?
You say there's no heroes left in this world, but here's
there
one
are
right here.
some.
There's
Real, not all heroes wear capes. Okay,
That's right.
some of them wear sweatshirts.
Some of them give away the booze. Some of them give away the booze that they got for free. By the way, I realize as I'm talking about this, like zip it up, because we'll say everybody out there, anybody that works for the government, close your ears right now. You do realize, right, that when they send us these samples and stuff, we're supposed to declare this. Do you know that?
What?
On your taxes.
We had no idea.
No.
Well, thankfully, I don't get anything good.
Yeah, me neither. I mean,
Dan, stop.
all they send me are thimblefuls, like little tiny eyedroppers.
That's why I was so confused when I went to your house. Was all these thimbles full of like I was like, what? Do you just sneak these on airplanes?
Huh?
Like, what do you do with these?
But if we were, for those people that actually do get full bottles, Jesus, what's going on, Michter's? You're supposed to declare that.
Huh.
So if, let's say you had a podcast and you get like $100,000 worth of booze every year, not that I do, but I'm saying
no,
like Bourbon
allegedly.
Pursuit or
Of
the Bourbon Pursuit, one of the other ones, they're supposed to declare that, whatever they got.
Yeah, I'm sure Wine Spectator is really showing and acknowledging and declaring everything they get.
Well, I'm sure they are. Actually. I'm old enough to remember, like when I got into the journalism game way back in the day, like that was a big no-no, like taking trips or anything free. And then I remember watching that line slowly starting to get blurred. Certain publications, like I used to write for GQ back in the day, and GQ, that was a no-no. Like if you went on a trip, they paid for it. GQ, you couldn't take anything from the brands. And then I think some of the bigger magazines started to crack and went, you know what, fuck it. If Diageo wants to pay for this guy to go, and how they got around it was then they started just using freelancers. Okay. So they would never send us. So I believe the only holdouts still are probably like the New York Times. The Washington Post, the New York Times, they don't accept anything, but I can't think of a single magazine now that doesn't do that, but they'll,
Yeah, I mean, it's funny because like, when I get invited on a trip here, a trip there, I never think of it as a free trip because, what I do in return, just sharing that I'm there and I'm just on sheer numbers of how many people see something, it's never fucking free. They're always doing it because they want something, I know, but I'm like, it's always like this really fair trade. I can totally see how the journalistic approach can really become gray when Diageo is paying
with the internet. What the internet did was destroy. Back in the day, there were only a few trusted sources, right? Like again, when I was writing for GQ and even Playboy in the early 2000s, it was like people went there because now it's like everybody's a pundit, everybody's an expert, nobody cares anymore. So that's all been smashed by the internet. The idea of objectivity. Because let's face it, I'm going to be honest, like I'm not taking a free trip to Scotland and then coming back and going, holy shit, was that scotch terrible? You know what I mean? Like if I have a bad experience, I just wouldn't talk about it. You know,
I'm of the same boat.
Yeah,
I'd
you're not
rather
allowed...
say no to an advertiser than lie to people. And then at the same time, sometimes you're better off not saying anything at all. The best thing you could say is not saying anything.
And you know, in looking back on it, I mean, I do have a lot of respect for so for instance, someone like Jonathan Gold, who was the legendary food critic here in Los Angeles. And if you haven't seen City of Gold, it's such a great documentary, watch it. But so, you know, those, for obvious reasons, even though it's hard to miss Jonathan Gold, what he looked like, but he was this big guy with, you know, I mean, he was very recognizable.
Yeah.
But the idea was, you know, he was coming in unannounced. He was going to objectively review the place. And brilliant. The writing was brilliant, but I also wonder how effective, because look, we all have bad nights, right? And I would always think that when I would read a review, you know, what if on the night that they came in, they just happened to get a newish server, somebody who wasn't going to make it there long term. And it never felt fair to me. But I also understand the flip side of that, which is like, who gives a shit? If you're going to a restaurant, and you're dropping $150, you don't want to be like, well, I got the new waiter, so give me a discount, you know. But so criticism, you know, punditry on that level. Even I used to write movie reviews back in the day, and you know, it's just so objective. You know,
sober movie reviews, or would you
regular movies as well, or porn?
Yeah,
regular.
Were they starring Ron Jeremy?
We're just clarifying.
What happened was I moved here in 2000, and I had a gig. I got a job writing for Talk Soup. Remember that show, Talk Soup?
Oh yeah. It was pre Joel McHale? I'm trying to remember.
It was pre Joel McHale. It was Aisha Tyler was the host.
Aisha Tyler. Yeah. I love Talk Soup. Yeah.
And then that ended. And I kind of was, and then 9/11 happened. That's another. No, I'm laughing. Like I'm laughing. I'm like, I'm not laughing at 9/11. Hold on, let me clarify.
I know we get it. Don't worry.
Why I'm laughing, and I can say this now, 21 years after the fact, is I left Talk Soup and I wrote. I was writing, a writing partner of mine at the time. We wrote this screenplay called Chick Flick, and it was a spoof of the genre. And this is before spoofs were played out. You know, remember spoofs had their day in the early 2000s. Oh yeah. So this was right. Spoofs were just sort of getting.
Not another teen movie.
Yeah, it was. So this predates that. I believe. You know, so we write this script. And it's really funny, right? And we almost immediately signed to. We got signed to ICM, which was a big one, a big agency then, and then Gold Miller, which ended up becoming Mosaic. But Gold Miller was a huge management company. They had Jim Carrey, they had Will Ferrell, they had everybody. So it's like it all happens, and now the script's going to go out. And how it used to work back in the day, because this is the early days still of the internet, it didn't go that way. They used to deliver scripts. They would have messengers that would go out, and it was on Tuesday mornings. The scripts they would have like 40 producers, production companies, whatever. And the agency would send the scripts out that they would get put on people's desks on that Tuesday. And then the agent would start making follow-up calls. Like you got, that's how it worked. I think you probably know where this story is
Tuesday,
going.
September 11th was your pickup
September
day?
11th was when Chick Flick went out. And I remember I obviously wasn't even thinking about, the night before was like Christmas. I'm like, oh my God, my script's going out tomorrow. This is going to be the day we're going to sell it. And then in the morning, my phone's ringing and I wake up and it's a friend of mine on the East Coast, like, Jesus Christ, like put on the TV. And I'm like, like everybody, I'm completely horrified. And then it took a couple of hours and I went, oh, maybe I should check in with I won't say his name, check in with my agent. And I said, hey, so obviously this is horrible. We're just going to hold off. Like we should probably wait a couple months, I guess, see what the fuck's going to happen. And he's like, bro, the scripts, they already went out. because they already have the messaging service like
Oh yeah.
contracted.
No.
And then I'm like, no, it didn't. No, it didn't. He's like,
I think
yeah.
there's a
No.
screenplay in the story of your screenplay going out September 11th.
Yeah.
That's,
No.
you know.
Anyway, so again, I don't feel bad for me, and no one does, but it didn't happen. And so then I couldn't really get any work, and a friend of mine that owned, do you remember the Metro? Megan, you're from the East Coast, right?
No, I'm from Colorado.
Oh, never
I'm
mind.
from the East Coast.
So
Yes,
do you remember the Metro, the free dailies that used to be? They were in New York and Philly and Boston, and they're all over the world, actually.
I remember
London,
seeing
Paris.
it in New York. I remember seeing it in New York when I was up there. Yeah.
So a friend of mine was the COO there, and he's like, "Hey, do you want to write some movie reviews for us?" And I said, "Sure." And I started writing these movie reviews, but I also pitched him on an idea for this is 2001, end of 2001, and I said, "What about a drinking column?" And he said, "What do you mean? Like you're going to go out drinking and writing about it?" And I go, "No, more along the lines of like a food or restaurant critic, but in this case, we'll be reviewing cocktails or spirits and things." And you got to realize this is the craft cocktail. None of that shit was really happening.
yeah.
It was, and he said, "Okay, I can't pay any extra money for it, but if you want to do it." And I came up with this name, the Imbiber, and I started writing it for the Metro. And then it became the most popular thing I was doing there. And then a couple of years later, that's when I got the call from Playboy saying, "Hey, do you want to come write this column for us?"
Wow.
Okay. Do I get to go to the mansion? And they're like, "Yeah." And I was like, "All right, count me in."
Oh my God.
Well, I mean, that's got to be part of the question, because any kid who spent any time in the 80s with memories, their dream at some point after watching any kind of news story about the Playboy Mansion was going to the Playboy Mansion. So, like you got to, I don't know, to visit Mecca, I guess, to a certain extent for any kid in the 80s.
Yeah, look, I grew up poor in Philadelphia, single mom, living on top of a pasta shop, not a lot of prospects in life. And so I've had numerous moments where I've not necessarily pinched myself, but certainly stop and take a breath and go, Jesus, how did I get here? And how the fuck did this happen? And being the first time I went to the Playboy Mansion was certainly one of those moments. I remember getting there and being like, it was like a midsummer night dream party too. So it was one of the big parties too. And I was like, oh my God, and yeah, it was good.
Yeah. It's not funny because there's so many questions I want to ask, but I'm like, you know what? We've already talked about porn. So, I was just, because I can imagine whenever I meet people that have been to the Playboy Mansion, they're always like, oh, dude. And then I saw this. And then, I saw this. And then I saw this. And I'm always like, okay, well,
That dream's kind of over now, right? Like
no, it's done.
It's dead. And then they're doing a documentary that's just going to pummel it some more. Like I used to watch The Girls Next Door thinking like, that's what I want to be when I grow up. And that's way after all that. And it's now going to be ruined. It's now ruined. Now they're like,
and I saw that and
I'm so sad.
Man, I just have such, was friends with Bridget more than, and I know Kendra. Mm-hmm. I don't really know Holly that well, but it to me, it sucks that they're coming for Hef. And it's like,
he's dead. Like, just let it lie.
Well, and Hef did so much, man, in terms of just when you start to apply the mores of current society to the past, it's fucking, like if you look at what Hef did over the course of his, yes, is there problematic shit that went on? Of course. But in terms of what he did to sort of, in my opinion, empower women in a lot of ways. And but people don't say, and I'm not talking about putting him in the fucking magazine. It's other stuff that Hef did. It's other stuff that Hef did in terms of race stuff, like he was putting women of color in the magazine back when that shit was not fucking happening. Right. Like it was like, and it just, I don't know. I think to me, it's shitty what's going on, but you know, and I know I know the proper thing to say is, well, everybody's got their truth, but fuck, man, like, you know, we've all done, if I look back, you mentioned my books. Like if I look back on my first book and I read it, not that I sit around reading my books, but if I were to go back and look at it,
don't lie. I've used the bathroom in your house. I know what books are on the toilet, dude.
So, you know, I'm going to look and go, oh, wow, I said that, you know, like, fuck, but okay. But it's called growth. It's called evolution. It's called, that's what we do as human beings. We're never fully formed. You know, you don't go, okay, I know everything now. And I know how to manage the feelings of everybody in the world. And I know how to do all the right things and say all the right things. So here I go. And I'm 16, you know, like, no, you're fucking, it happens. And even at 30 and 40, and you're still learning and evolving and growing and changing with the times as the times change. And so to hold half under a lens now,
it's not fair. It's not,
here's what he was doing in 1960 fucking 6. You know, get out of here.
Please. You know what my daily exercise is first thing in the morning, I open Facebook and I go to my memories of Facebook for that day. And I go back and I delete everything. Because in my mind, I'm like, did I ever say anything that could be remotely misinterpreted as something not good? And I'm just like, you know what? I don't want to deal with it. So just delete. I do.
I repost it all.
Oh, like, no. I repost
18.
like old dog videos, like puppy videos, like, you know, a war veteran comes home and their dog sees them for the first time. I'll repost the shit out of that. All the other stuff, I'm like, I just don't even want to deal with it.
I love it. It's 8 years ago today. You were married. I was like, shit.
Yeah. You know what? It's funny though, because now I've seen a lot of younger people on Twitter, because I've been on Twitter. It's the oldest platform for me, right? And I've been on it forever. And like young people on Twitter now are me on Facebook in like 2009. Because my Facebook in 2009 is like, just landed in Detroit. Or, you know, gonna get a good night's rest today. And I find that these like early 20-somethings on Twitter are posting that shit. And it cracks me up because I'm like, nobody gives a shit. I'm going back deleting all of these. And I'm like, where are you? Nobody cares that you just landed in Detroit, like, or whatever.
Well, it's funny you bring that up. And I, again, don't know when this episode's going to go up, but on my show, What We're Drinking, episode 160, which is the one that dropped today. So whenever people hear this, I basically spend the entire episode. My old editor from Playboy, Scott, is my guest. And I have this idea, well, who cares? It's social media, right? So all I want to do is go on to certain posts and just put, who cares, right?
Yeah.
And when I say this, I say this with the knowledge that I'm going to sound like a fucking asshole, but I talk about this on my show, so I don't want to go into it too much, but basically this guy posted something about his dad having cancer, and that's sad. It's terrible, right? But we see this so much on Facebook in particular, where people take somebody else's tragedy, whether it be a family member or a friend or whatever, and so very clearly want to make it about themselves, right? You know, so this guy mentions that his dad has, first of all, he's like, my dad has cancer. We found out this morning. His post was at like 9:50 in the morning. They found out that morning. So what was he like? Hey, Dad, okay, great. Save that, Dad. I need to get on Facebook and compose a novella about your cancer. Yeah,
here's a box of Kleenex, Dad. I'll be right back. I gotta type this.
I need to get affirmation and support. I need it. And I understand. And that's what it's become for so many people.
Yeah.
But I think I've reached the end of my rope. And so I have this idea where I just want to go, now I got to be careful, and, you know, I'll probably get canceled, but I just want to go and not, am I being mean? I just want to go, who cares? Right.
Yeah, I agree.
And the context of it is this. It's not that it's not terrible that your dad has cancer, but none of these people give a fuck. You don't know them. They're not reaching out to you. If they were your real friends, you would call them. You would call them and be like, I'd call you, Eddie, man, my dad's got cancer. Can you come? I need to go get a drink and fucking talk about it. He'd be like, yeah, let's do it.
That's
not happening on Facebook. And so that's an extreme example. And then you got but then the ones that are just obvious, like they're people that put on their Fitbit, and I hiked this many miles today, or I'm halfway through my novel, and I'm like, look, I'll put my show. I never put personal shit on my Fit, but I'll put up, like, if I got a show up or something. I've thought about this, like when I've had bigger things happen, like if my books come out, I'll go, yeah, my book's out today. I don't go, 10 years ago, I started a journey and then I started writing about it.
You should record yourself speaking exactly like this and then share that.
Yeah, right. It's like,
audiobook.
Who cares? Who fucking
cares?
cares? The book's out. It's a good book. You want to buy it? Go buy it. You don't want to buy it? Don't fucking buy it. I don't care. But people just sharing so much, but it does bring me to this area, which is the one that we all know. And I want to get your opinion on this. The dead pet post. They're ubiquitous, right? Like, oh, I'm so sad to say, after 12 great years, the greatest dog that ever lived, Sparky, died today. And then you're going to get a bunch of pictures of Sparky, and it's terrible. And I feel horrible. When
those fucking break my heart. So
break my heart. But then it makes me mad because I'm like, why is my heart breaking? I don't know you, and I've never met Sparky, and you're making me fucking cry. Like, what's going on? Why do I need to?
That sounds like a you problem, though.
No, I agree.
Right?
Totally. Yeah.
Like, don't
and it's
put it
also
up.
one of those things, like, I think a lot of people are depressed because we're inundated with shit that we don't need to know and we didn't have to know. Like, there's some news stories out there that get posted on social media that I'm pleasant in my life not knowing. They're horrific and terrible, and maybe that area needs to know about them, but I don't need to know everything all the time. It's killing me.
Social media has given the dumbass in class a voice. And what I'm referring to is, when you were a kid, you were in school, you always had some kids in the class with you that were just idiots. Maybe they were idiots. Some of them were just, they didn't get it. They didn't get it, and now there's a forum for so many, or all the didn't get it's to get the bullshit out. And then other didn't get it's follow along.
There was a social media where you have to take a test, like a test that verifies that you get it, or your IQ is where it's supposed to be, or your emotional intelligence. And then that is a social media.
Oh, I would love that.
You know what that test is called, Megan? It's called getting off Facebook. If any of us were that smart, we'd go, hey, all I got to do here's the thing where Facebook's genius is everything else that you're tied into Facebook. So if you try to get off Facebook,
I know
all those other apps that you logged in.
I know. They're like, let's just buy everything.
I always wondered, but even if they don't buy it, they do these partnerships. And I remember thinking to myself, because I'm so dumb when it comes to stuff, it's like, why are they asking me to go through Facebook instead of just logging in and creating a password or whatever? Now I realize why. Facebook's got agreements with these apps, because if you try to quit these apps, it's like, oh shit, but I'm on. So the dating apps, like several of the dating apps are tied into Facebook, right? I remember that from back in the day. It was like, was it Tinder, maybe Bumble, one of those. You had to be on Facebook to be on it, right? And then there's all these other apps. So if you try to get rid of Facebook now, do you lose your Instagram? Because isn't that tied to Facebook?
I don't know.
It is, they're linked, but
they're
I think you can get rid of your face.
Yeah, like and WhatsApp. And
I don't know, and I'm not on dating apps.
I'm not now either.
I don't know
either. But it used to be. I remember when I did years ago. I did Bumble, and Bumble was through Facebook. It's the only way you could get on it was through. Maybe it's Bumble, or is it Hinge? One of those ones.
Bumble.
Grinder.
Megan, soon enough.
I'm ready.
Soon enough, Megan. No, I think we'll get you on Raya soon.
What's Raya?
That's the celebrity one.
Get me on that bad boy.
We'll get you banging famous people. Let's get this.
Is that what needs to happen?
We need more stories for the show, Megan.
Yeah, I have
so please, can we just have that?
Welcome to LA. COVID.
It's funny. One thing I loved about hanging out with you, Dan, is just your vast knowledge of travel and booze, because so many people can fucking love Irish whiskey, but haven't been to Ireland and made the mistake of being next to somebody ordering an Irish car bomb at a bar in Ireland, which is one of the greatest stories I've heard ever that Dan told me. But it now, do you feel like because of did the drinking make you a better writer, or did the traveling and the drinking make you a better writer?
No, I mean, the writing started when I was very young, long before I ever drank. It was, like I mentioned growing up, single mom, difficult situation. Writing was the escape. I used to write little fantasy books when I was a kid, and it'd always be the hero would be some young stud that's been set upon, and it was me. And then I'd get out, and so the writing was something I did from a very young age, and reading was something I did from a very young age to escape. And I would read all the time, and then it just evolved. I wrote in high school and then in college, and I just did it, and then I ended up.
But what catapulted you to move across the country to LA? Like, what was the moment that you said, well, shit, I got to get out of here if I'm going to do XYZ?
No, I went to Miami to live with an ex-girlfriend. So I grew up in a neighborhood in Philly where no one leaves, so it was a big deal when I left. It was like, oh, I'm striking out into the world. I was in my early 20s, and I went to Miami to live with an ex, and that lasted 19 days. I was like,
yeah,
right,
that sounds about right. So which Latina was she?
No, she was from Philly. Not that there's not Latinos from Philly, but she was a girl that I dated in high school from Philly, and she was, German descent, actually.
Dude, what Miami can do to you.
And so I wasn't going to go back to Philly. I was determined that I was not going to go back and be like, all right, with my head between my legs, I didn't make it. So I had an old family friend that was living in Colorado Springs.
That's right.
Never been.
So that's where I was born.
Okay. All right. So I get in my car and I drive nonstop from Miami to Colorado. Never been there. I'd never driven that way in the country. And in fact, I remember vividly, I had an old Jeep, and I was driving, and it's just flat, man. Everything's flat and flat and flat forever. And I was kind of going up a little bit of an incline, and I was changing the tape in cassette tape in my Jeep. And I get to the crest of the hill, and I look, and there's the Rockies. And, it's very stark when you first see it. It's everything's flat. And then you see the Rockies, and I took my breath away. I was like, what's this? Shit, this is amazing. So I ended up in Colorado Springs, and I was living with an old family friend, Joe, who was like 80. And he was living with a woman who was Theo, who was 82. They're both, obviously they're gone now. And, and I was there, and I'm like, all right, I'm going to write a book, I wasn't ready to write a book. And my dad said, hey, your cousin. So my mom and dad split up when I was young, and I didn't see my dad for a long time, but now we had reconciled. So my dad says, hey, your cousins, you remember them from when you were kids, Dennis and Mike, around my age, they're living in Aspen for the winter. They moved out there. They're being ski bums. And I was like, all right, Aspen. I never heard of any. I had heard of Aspen, but I never knew anybody that had been there. I never had any idea that I'd ever go there. And I hit them up, and they said, yeah, man, come on over. So I drove over for the weekend, and have you ever been to Aspen?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So it's beautiful, man.
Yeah.
I've been a few times. Yep.
So I rolled in there in January, and it just snowed, and I'd never seen anything like it. I was like, what the hell is this, man? And I ended up having the best weekend of my life. And I was like, I'm just going to stay. And my cousins were like, you can just crash on our couch. And that's what happened. And I just was working a bunch of jobs, working on the mountain, working at a bar, delivering pizzas. And my cousin's girlfriend at the time was a writer for the Aspen Daily News. And I had a box I didn't bring hardly anything with me, but I brought a box that had stuff that I'd written in college. I was a columnist in college. And she was reading at the Temple University in Philly. Yeah, Temple News. And she's like, man, you're a good writer, and I'd love to introduce you to my editor. Maybe you could do some writing. And she did. A guy named Curtis Robinson, who's now one of my best friends. And he read my stuff, and he said, you're funny. I'd like to give you a column. I don't have any money, can't pay you. But if you want to do a column, I'll put you in on Saturday, which is like the worst day of the week. And I'm like, all right, man, yeah, let's do it. So I started writing this column called Twisted. That was the name of the column. I named it. For free. And then one day I was in the bank in Aspen, and I was cashing a check, or 5 checks, how many jobs I had. And the girl behind the counter, and she was a girl, you're like my age, we're like early 20s. And she said, are you Dan Dunn from the newspaper? And I said, yeah. And she was like, turn to the teller next to her. And she's like, this is the guy from the paper. And I'm like, oh, and that was the moment. That was the moment when I went, holy shit, I could do this for a living. Like, I didn't have any reason, but I wasn't making any money or nothing, but I was like, I went and called my mom. I'm like, hey, these 2 women I don't even know were like, you're the guy from the newspaper. And I was like, oh my God. So that was the beginning. And then what was great was by the time I ended up running for mayor of Aspen. That's another story, but for another podcast. And when I left,
that's an 80s sitcom.
Yeah. When I left, they had a roast for me was on TV. The mayor was there, the chief of police, Hunter S. Thompson, who I ended up working for, that, and Martina Navratilova, all these local celebrities. And it was on TV in Aspen. And that's when I left. That was 4.5 years after I got there. So I rolled in milking an unemployment check from my first job in Philly, and then left and got roasted and went to Arizona and did pretty well down there. And then I came here in 2000,
Did you come empty-handed? And what I'm referring to, did you come sans agent, sans, for your aspiring writer, somebody who wants to get in that world, what advice would you give you back then that you know now?
Be your own best advocate and be aggressive for sure. I mean, no, I got here and I told you that, so the Talk Soup thing, how that happened was I met some friends that I started hanging out with, and my one friend's girlfriend was a producer on Talk Soup, and she and I became friends. And we were all going to meet up for happy hour one day. I don't remember exactly how it went down, but I was emailing with her. Her name's Jen. And she's like, well, I got a really busy day because we're interviewing new writers for this. We have a writer position that opened up, and I got all these writers coming in. And I was like, hey, what about me? And she's like, would you want to do it? Would you want to try? And I said, yeah. And she's like, well, I'm pretty sure this guy, Brad Giori, who was the head writer, I'm pretty sure Brad has somebody, but let me ask him. And then she called me back and she goes, he said, yeah, if you want to come in like right now. No. And I go, well, for what? And she goes, he's going to give you a test, meaning, you remember how Talk Soup worked? There would be clips, right?
Yep. And so there'd be a comment on that clip.
I'm telling you, this is how it happened. And I went, all right, I'll be there in a half hour. It was at Wilshire Boulevard. It was in the E building there, remember on Wilshire by La Brea Tar Pits. So I drive over there, and he puts me in a room with a pen and a notepad. And he goes, I want you to watch these 5 clips and then write jokes going into the clips and jokes coming out of the clips. And you got a half hour. That was it. Like, you got a half hour to do this. And it was like Jerry Springer. That was the shit back then.
Yeah.
Blind Date, whatever, all the stuff that they used to clip on Talk Soup. And I just sat down and I put the first clip on and I watched it. And I was like, all right, and I wrote like 4 or 5 jokes. Next clip, went into Brad's office. I said, here you go. He goes, all right, man. Again, we're very late in the process, but great meeting you. And, Jen speaks highly of you. Okay. I leave. 2 hours later, she calls me up. She's like, holy shit. He was literally hiring this other guy who ended up getting hired later. Dave Green, his name is. Dave, if you're out there, sorry, I took your job. He ended up getting the job later. They were going to hire Dave Green. And then he read my stuff and he went, no, we got to hire this guy. And so I woke up that morning.
Crazy.
I woke up that morning with no job, no nothing, blah, 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 talking to my friend about going to happy hour. And by the end of the day, I was writing on an Emmy winning comedy. By the end of the day, I had a job. So the point is, there's no rules. There's no blueprint. There's no nothing. You just go, let's go. Like, fuck it. If somebody's there, don't say, well, when someone says, oh, there's a job, don't think, well, I wonder who's going to get that job. It could be you. Give me
absolutely.
That job. Yeah.
Is there a favorite joke you've ever written?
No. I wrote I don't know if it's a favorite joke, but it's one of the most controversial ones. It was actually the beginning of the end of Talk Soup as it stood. Because then people don't understand. Talk Soup was Talk Soup. The Soup with Joel McHale was essentially a different show. They got rid of all the Talk Soup people. I was part of, me and another guy that wrote this thing about Tickle Me Elmo. So we used to do these little off things, and I'm going to screw it up, but essentially there was a new Tickle Me Elmo that not only talked doll, but it vibrated. And so we did this thing where it's like, but there have been some problems with the new Tickle Me Elmo. And then we create it's like a store shelf in a store, and you pan down and it's like, Elmo. Somebody going, Elmo doesn't like it here. It's dark. I can't see. And then you get to the pan, and it's like a sort of a Raggedy Ann looking doll. And the Elmo's underneath the skirt of the doll. And the doll goes, shut up, bitch, and keep going.
I can see how people,
so
that's funny.
So, wow. So within the episode airs, and I don't know who, Disney, Mattel, whoever owns that, big corporate hand came down, and it came down hard because E was owned by Disney and ABC and all that. And they're like, we're going to pull all our shit. So they didn't cancel Talk Soup yet, but what they did do was they assigned, oh man, I'd love to get it. I wish Aisha was here talking about it, because we just have a great laugh about this. So then they assigned these lawyers to the show that would sit in the writer's room with us. So you do a read through before you do the show. So basically what would happen is we do clips, and then everybody would write jokes, and you go in the room and you pick the best joke. So now they put these lawyers in the room with us, right? And we got away with a lot of shit on Talk Soup because it was on fucking late night on E. It was kind of edgy. And, Kinnear used to be on, and Al Sparks and John Henson and all that.
Al Sparks. I couldn't remember who it was. Yeah, Al Sparks.
And then, it was an edgy show. And so these lawyers would be in the room. And I'm telling you, man, that was the best time that I ever had on the show, because it was like a movie, how dumb they were. Lawyers, but they weren't savvy. They weren't sharp. They were like the kind of lawyers that would get assigned to do this bullshit job. Right. So then we would tell the jokes, and we'd write the jokes, and they'd be like, I don't get this one. I don't get we don't get the dirty Sanchez. What is that? And we're like, well, the guy, he was Mexican, and he was an auto mechanic. Like, we're making shit up. Like, so we would put in all this sexual innuendo in the jokes. Like the thing, I think it was called a pink sock when you're, when your asshole, like,
I know exactly what that
is. Prolapse?
Prolapses. Yes. When you're,
yeah.
So I remember that one, and I remember them being like, what's the pink sock? And we're like, when you do the laundry and you throw all the clothes in and it comes down and it's pink. And so it's kind of like, because it was like we tied it into a clip that had something to do with laundry. And then they're like, we don't quite get what's funny about it. Well, because the sock came out pink. It was a white sock, and now it's a pink sock.
Yeah, it's pink now.
And then you know what? And I just imagine those lawyers going home to their wives and being like, boy, these guys on Talk Soup just aren't funny. Like, they don't get comedy at all. So we had all this shit in there, donkey punches. Like, I familiarized myself with so many terms, like sexual innuendo terms. That's how we got around the lawyers. It was like, all right, well then, if they're not going to let us write the jokes we want to write, we'll just write them covertly. And so those last few months on Talk Soup were a lot of fun. But I'm told that my part that I played in the Tickle Me Elmo thing was the beginning of the end of Talk Soup.
Yeah, you were the poison pill that brought down that empire of Talk Soup.
I'd be proud of that.
You would be, Megan. I would. You'll be proud of that.
That's a point of pride, Dan.
So it's funny because you've mentioned the story, and I mentioned it earlier about being on a what they call a press media trip to Ireland, and you had that dumb schmuck. One of the major don'ts to do in a country is order a cocktail or something that could be considered super offensive in that country, which, if you've been to Belfast or know anything about the country of Ireland, the history of the term Irish car bomb is not a pleasant thing. And it's not necessarily something that they drink there. And, some asshole ordered that at a bar on a trip you went on. I know I'm paraphrasing your story. So that's some of the don'ts. Can you think of any other don'ts, some advice for people that go out drinking to not do as a, don't insult the culture of the people you're around with what you order? Megan's face.
I was just thinking about all the United States and like natural or not natural disasters, just disasters that you could name drinks after.
Yeah, it's like if there's a drink called a dirty Cuban, don't order it in Miami.
Yeah,
that's probably not a good idea. Or order it
like
from me at my bar. Is there anything you think of, Dan?
Well, you know, the crazy thing about the car bomb, you know, what you have to realize about the Irish car bomb is it was invented here.
Yeah,
a guy named Charles Oates in Connecticut invented it. So think about that drink. They take the three most popular adult beverages in Ireland: Guinness, Jameson, Bailey's. You could argue the three most popular adult beverages in Ireland, and then combine them and name them after an act of terrorism that has, you know, caused countless deaths and heartache and to the Irish people. And I wrote about this in I think that's what you're talking about in one of the books, maybe Wino or Living Loaded. It would be the equivalent of like if after 9/11, some cheeky Irish pub owner opens a pub down there in the shadows of what used to be the World Trade Center, and he creates a drink called the 9/11 or the burning towers or the toppling towers or something, and the drink is Jim Beam and Budweiser. You know what I mean? Like, you're like, what the fuck, man? Like,
it's
that's
the equivalent
what the
of
Irish car bomb is. And what sucks about it is they're really good Irish car bombs.
They're so good.
They're
my
so good.
favorite.
But why can't we just name them? We just got to rename them. Like, call it.
It's just
else.
not as catchy as Irish car bomb. That's the, you know, that's the thing.
I know those are bomb shots when you drop.
Right, you're dropping up. Yeah,
they're bomb.
I always
shots.
thought, like, what about like Shane MacGowan's teeth? Right.
Okay.
Shane MacGowan was the lead singer of the Pogues, and Shane had terrible teeth that looked like they've been soaking in Guinness, and then they're all broken and shit. So, you know, when you do that shot, sometimes the shot glass hits you in the tooth.
There you go.
So I was thinking, like, what if we called it a Shane MacGowan's teeth?
An Irish hockey player. You know, that's what you call it. What happened?
Galway hookers. Those are boats in Galway. You could use that for a drink. Galway hooker. That sounds like fun. I'll have one of those. Bam. No?
Does it?
I'll go fuck myself then. This was fun. Thank you guys.
What?
I think that's more a penicillin. If you get the Galway hooker, yeah.
Boat, Dan. There's a boat.
There's a funny one. There's a funny one about cocktails. You know the tasting kitchen in Venice, the bar restaurant down here? That was one of my favorite moments. So it's a great place, but they became famous for this drink they have called the Braveheart. And a buddy of mine, Devin, invented it. Devin Espinosa, love you, buddy. Years ago, he invented it. It does bring the question of provenance into play. So it's basically a penicillin, right? Which is scotch, lemon, and honey. And then you get a float on top of it, right? With you do a blended scotch, and then you do like an Islay malt float on top. So he does all that, and he added like 2 dashes of bitters. That's what he added to it, and called it a Braveheart. And it became the most popular drink at the tasting kitchen. But I get it. All drinks are variations of essentially 10 drinks, you know, if that. But if I put a penicillin in front of you and I put a Braveheart in front of you, you'd be hard pressed to tell the difference between the two of them. So I'm like,
absolutely,
where do you draw the line on borrowing inspiration, being inspired by something, or stealing it?
Yeah, because I mean, in music, it's like 2 bars or not 2 bars, but like 2 measures. If more than 2 measures are the same, you're essentially stealing the song. You know, I think that's what it is in music.
You know, the blurred lines. Clearly, they stole the beginning of that Marvin Gaye song. They stole the beat from the Marvin Gaye song, and they lost, right? Stairway to Heaven. There's a great example. So, you know, that whole thing where they say that Spirit, the beginning of the song, which does sound like the Spirit song, but come on, the rest of the song is
the other 8
different.
minutes of the song.
Yeah, like, so that's a great point. So in the cocktail world, where do you draw the line? Is putting a couple dashes of bitters on there enough to call it a different drink? Give it a different name?
To me. I think it's time we appoint a czar someone who's in charge of it. I mean, you ran for
Dan might be
mayor
the
of
guy.
Aspen.
I think Dan,
Maybe this
that's a
could
new
be my new
campaign.
gig is I go
Cocktail
around
czar.
and
Cocktail czar.
You have a week because this episode's going up. You have a week
Yeah.
to secure the social media handles for that.
I'll get some pins made. We get
Yeah.
some flags, some badges.
You know, instead of vote for Pedro, we'll have, you know, vote for
and I go
Dan
around
shirts.
the bars and I try their, because you know, in a lot of
Dunn.
bars you're going to get the cocktail list. They're and they have their drinks.
Yeah.
But a lot of times, especially I think when you go to places that maybe don't have the most sophisticated cocktail consumers, if you New York and LA is one thing, but if you go to smaller places, how many cocktail menus do you think have drinks where they just give them different names, but they're another drink?
No,
right?
It just says Manhattan.
I think
old fashioned
in charge that goes around and says this.
Well, especially when you get into sours, like drinks that have citrus components and whatever, where I could totally see them in these different bars being like, all right, let's take a whiskey sour and we'll call it a Bobby's Bonanza, but it's a whiskey sour, right? But Bobby owns the bar and he's calling it a Bobby's Bonanza. Are we good with that? Are we okay with that?
No.
I mean, if Bobby owns the bar, he can do whatever the hell he wants. So I'm okay with it.
Someone has to, like, who invented the drink? That's
maybe they give you an AKA, like Bobby's Bonanza, AKA whiskey sour. I don't know. I'm
Dan, this is up to you. I mean, I'm not running for czar.
I don't have a hard stance on this.
Cocktail czar about this.
Cocktail czar.
I like this. Yeah, this is definitely a task for the cocktail czar. So Dan, I have one final thing that I want to propose to you, and I want to hear your thoughts on this. So you and I are both huge U2 fans. I think you and I hung out and like discussed our U2 fandom, which was a blast. But it is whatever. Hey, hater. Yeah, what Megan was fully responsible for putting us in touch originally. So you've got a day in LA, all right, and you've got a day in LA with Bono, and Bono's like, Dan, I know you're a fan, and you're my guy. You're my guy in LA. I don't know what I'm gonna do. You got to take Bono out for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and of course you got to take him out for drinks later. What are you doing? What are you having?
This is after I suck his dick.
It could be. I mean, after, you know what it is? I think after how about this? It has to be so good that after you're done, he wants to suck your dick.
Okay. All right. Well, let's see. Taking Bono to breakfast. I would go to Ray's Diner. Again, I live on the west side, so a lot of my stuff's going to be over here. I'd take him to Ray's Diner over on Pico for breakfast. Lunch, we would go to, I'm trying to think of some, why the fuck would he want to go to an Irish pub? He lives in Ireland. For lunch, we would go to, where do I like to go to lunch? Oh, I know. I'd take him to Killer Shrimp. And we would sit we would sit out on the deck there and look at the marina, have shrimp. Bono's got
it's
shrimp.
Killer.
I love it.
Yeah. And that shrimp's killer. He'd love it.
Yeah.
And then for between lunch and dinner, we'd have to go have a drink somewhere. So I would probably go to the Daily Pint because I love the whiskey selection up there. I'd take him up there. And then for dinner, well, I want to go somewhere. I'm trying to think of the most. I'd probably go to Scopa. I want to go somewhere high profile because I'm with Bono. Like, I don't give a fuck what he wants. I just want everybody to know that I'm with Bono. So I would go on this side of town. It would be Scopa Scopa would probably be the best spot for that. Where people are like, oh my God, who's that guy with Bono?
Yeah, no, I like it. I love
it. He
it's
ran
quick.
for mayor of Aspen. I know him. He ran for mayor of Aspen back in the day.
You talked about people and cancer on Facebook making it about them. You made Bono about you when you take him to dinner. So that's perfect. Mm-hmm. And then lastly, your nightcap. Where are you taking him and what are you drinking?
We're going to, well, again, back in the day at Scopa, we'd go to Old Lightning. You remember the little private bar there, which is very cool.
I haven't been. Okay.
But like it? I would say, you know what, for nightcap, we're going to venture over into Hollywood. We're going to go to Melrose Umbrella Company. Not that it's West Hollywood. We're going to Melrose Umbrella Company. I love that spot. We'll go there.
And are you doing like shots of Redbreast? Like, what are you doing?
Or maybe we'll go to the Gaslight the Gaslight on Wilshire Boulevard, which has karaoke. And I would duet with Bono.
Good.
What are you doing? Are you playing the edge? Are you singing the higher octave?
No, we're going to do Leather and Lace. Give to me your leather. And we look each other in the eye. Take from me my lace. Yeah, that's what we're going to do.
Oh yeah. I think he's definitely going to take care of you after doing that duet with him. Dan Dunn, we end every show the same way. We want to, the only thing we don't get back in life is time. And Megan and I want to thank you for spending some of your time here on Kill the Bottle Podcast. For the folks at home, check out What We're Drinking with Dan Dunn. He is also
Is this the point where I kill the bottle?
Yes,
dude, if you kill that right now, I will pick a fight with you for that beautiful bottle of Michter's that you're swishing down there. Please check out What We're Drinking with Dan Dunn. I listen to him on Spotify, but of course he's on Apple. He's all over the place. And I'm like
the virus. I'm like the virus. You can't get away from it.
Yeah. But yeah, and you just keep evolving and getting stronger. So Dan, what?
Oh, great.
Listen, Megan.
Amazing.
Megan has a fancy dinner to go to.
Where are you going?
Fancy.
Yeah, where are you going? You got a little bit of what is that you got there? You got a little polka dot sparkly shirt going on? What's happening?
Yeah,
it's good.
I do. AOC. I'm going to AOC, and I'm going by myself. It's not like a fucking date. This is what I do on Tuesday nights. I go to a nice restaurant and I get dessert.
Yeah. Wait, you go to AOC by yourself?
Yeah.
And you just eat dessert?
No, I get the food, but I also get dessert is what I'm saying. Like it's like I finish it strong.
But is it always AOC?
No, I pick a different restaurant every week. It's my favorite thing to do.
But and I know now I'm holding you up, but
no, don't worry about it.
I love that. I like so there's a spot near me that I go to. In fact, we're going there tomorrow night. By the time this podcast ends, we're going there 6 days ago.
Sorry, Bono.
But it's oh shit, I would take Bono there pre-dinner. Vito's. I don't know if you guys know Vito's. So Vito's is on Ocean Park in Santa Monica, down by the Santa Monica airport. And Vito's is sort of the West Side's answer to Musso and Frank's, but not nearly as famous. But it's just been there a long time, and it's the old guys and the red leather. It's an old school Italian place, and they got a little bar that only has about 8 seats, maybe. And they do a happy hour. And I just went last week for the first time since before COVID. And it was so great to be back there because they got this menu and it's like everything's under $10. The food's amazing there. So you get a pasta dish for $8 and you get a glass of wine for $7, right? And this is really good stuff, Vito's. So we went there and I remember feeling, because, look, we've all had whatever we went through during the pandemic that's still going, but hopefully we're coming out of. But I remember thinking to myself that I just miss being able to do simple things. Like Eddie, we talked about earlier, like going to Ireland, and that's all great. But even just doing simple things, like going down the block to the local spot, to Vito's, hunkering down at the bar, having a couple glasses of wine, a dish of pasta, and then you go home. And now
I missed bars so much, I built one in my house. Not kidding.
Yeah, but I have to leave my house.
Yeah, thank you. I got to have you over. And no, you know what? Next time we hang, we're going to Vito's, my friend. And that's it. I'm putting it out in the next 3 weeks. I will drive over.
You're both invited. Come join me at Vito's. We'll have a
sounds like my kind of place. Exactly my kind of place.
But I just want to sit at the bar at Vito's, us three.
Bars.
That's where I want to go.
Well, here's the thing.
That's how I meet people.
And by the way, anybody out there listening, forget we said this because I don't want you fucking crowding up Vito's on me. Here's the thing about Vito's. You got to get there at 5:00.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll be there.
Definitely pre-COVID, because it was like people be waiting to get in because there's only 8 seats. So like tomorrow night I'm going. I will be there at like 4:55, waiting to get in.
Smart man.
Walk right in, get my spot, but it's dark, and it's just the bartender's got a bow tie on, and it's just the whole thing. And it's what do you want? And you're like, yeah, give me. I'm gonna have the caprese, and then I'm gonna have I'm gonna have a little bit of the penne with the vodka sauce, and I'm gonna have a glass of that Sangiovese. and I feel like a mobster in a way, and I just hang. Yeah.
Well, your like faux booth behind you makes you look like a mobster. I know it's a bar, but it looks almost like you're sitting in a booth.
You know what this is?
I know, but I'm just saying, like, it almost looks like you're sitting in a booth at a restaurant.
Look.
Look at that. That's impressive, my friend. And I'm gonna make sure we show that video clip because we need to, you need some behind the scenes footage of
your bar. Here's what's crazy. I'm like, man, that backdrop looks amazing, but that's actually real. Your bar's real.
Yeah,
it is real. It is real. But I probably only have a 10th of the booze in my house that you have in your house. Like,
well, when you
for
come
real,
over,
that's
man,
a zombie apocalypse.
When you come over,
house.
I'll load you up. I'll load you up with some stuff when you come over. Yeah.
Dan,
so
dude, thanks again.
We're making a plan right now. Eddie, Megan, and Dan are going to be at Vito's sometime in the next couple of weeks.
Hell yeah. Absolutely.
Right.
You have
nothing.
What?
I would love nothing more.
There you go. That's not what you were trying to say. Dan, again, thanks so much, folks. Listening at home, like, subscribe, check out what you were drinking with Dan Dunn, like and subscribe, and please give all of us amazing motherfucking reviews because that's how we keep this going. Dan, thanks for being on the show, brother, and I hope to have you again in the future. Much love to you.
Thank you, guys and gals.
Thanks.
Thanks, dude.
That was good, man. That was fun.
That was a fucking blast, bro.
Yeah.
Brah.
And yes, we got to fucking do that, dude. It's been too goddamn long. So yes.
Yeah.
And that place sounds perfect.
Well, you guys should come over, we go there, and then we'll hit like the Pint's not far from there either, right down the street, which
you're speaking my language.
One of the most incredible whiskey selections in all of Los Angeles. But anyway, I don't want to hold you up there, Megan. You're going to your AOC.
Yeah. She's gonna, I'm gonna make a salmon burger and a salad.
Hey, by the way,
and my time alone. That's all I.
By the way, back in the Corolla days, you wouldn't want to be mentioning AOC around anything.
Oh right, no, yeah.
It's so funny. Like I still get my friends. In fact, forwarded me some clip today of Adam talking about what show was he on? But he was talking about the Neil Young thing.
Yeah.
My buddy forwards it to me, and I'm like, look. Adam's gonna do Adam. Like
Adam's always gonna do Adam.
All I do is hope that he doesn't get to the point where, brands are like, no, to you, and we don't want you going on that show with him.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's fine. But he's
fine. He's that's always
you're not working with them at all.
No, I'm not. There is too much going on, and I got offered some other opportunities. So I need to wait for. Adam and I talked about this, but waiting for his divorce to be settled, and then we'll discuss what can possibly be done after that. But it was just getting kind of crazy. So
yeah, it's. Look, it's great for me. Just Eddie and I have talked about how I use the Corolla show to my advantage.
Y'all do. I work for people who do. I work for Vinny. I work for everybody who does.
Yeah. And by the way, aren't I doing Vinny's show too? Didn't you ask?
Did you not do it already? I thought you guys did.
We did, but I thought I was doing it again. I thought you asked. Maybe not. I don't know.
Maybe not.
I thought Vinny.
I'm sure you guys can do it again.
Maybe Vinny hit me up about doing it.
Vinny probably hit you up. I get the.
I was at Gina's wedding with him. That's right. We sat. We sat at the table together at Gina's wedding, and he was like, "You want to come back on the show?" And I'm like, "Yeah, man, whatever."
Yeah.
Okay.
Did you guys get along?
Oh, Vinny's great, man.
Good.
Gina's wedding was so much. Look, I love those guys. Like I mean, even Ace, like he and I don't agree on.
Yeah.
We're not politically aligned, but I also feel like Adam's not as far off as people think he is.
No, he's not.
Where you just kind of go.
It's hard to explaining that to my parents too. I'm like, you don't know what me and him. I've been to Vegas with him. I've traveled around with him. For 5 years. I was part of his life, and I know him pretty well. And he's not as bad as he comes off.
What's crazy with him is like I've known Adam for 15 years.
Mm-hmm.
And our relationship was always. He was always very distant, sort of like that's just how. And then the last 2 years. It's kind of weird. Like, yeah, maybe the divorce or whatever. Like
the divorce is really
at Gina's wedding. He was like, "Hey, I'm going to go have a cigarette. You want to come with me?" I'm like, "All right." And we had this heart to heart at the barbecue this year. You remember at the barbecue? I was backstage or back in the thing with him, and he started getting emotional, talking about going to therapy because he wanted to keep the marriage going.
He did
right?
not want this to happen. Yeah.
Yeah. And so he started talking about like they went to therapy. And I just remember sitting there, I'm like trying to be a friend to him, but I'm also like, is this fucking happening right now?
This is,
I'm like,
Corolla
is like,
for hours.
Hold on, let me turn off the recorder. No, I'm just kidding.
I'm
Please
like,
stop.
Corolla's like getting emotional talking to me. And I'm like, all right. And then,
when we went to Oklahoma City, I sat across the table from him and he played a Blues Traveler song for me. And he played it not only once, he played it 3 times to make sure I heard the lyrics, and he started crying and bawling to me. And I know. And I'm telling you, between the divorce and all the stuff that's going on and his, new relationships and the women and the Corolla drinks, it was too much. I was like, I'm out for a while. You guys need to figure out your shit. And then I'm always welcome back, but it was a lot. And it was time.
I don't know if you know this. Do you know I'm the guest of the year?
Shut the fuck up. Did you get an ACE award?
Guest of the year.
What is that?
Well, they do awards for.
Oh,
no, I was like, that's the big one, I think.
That's
right?
Huge. Yeah.
I was the guest of the year.
That's fucking awesome.
And they
dude.
replay your VR.
They played the virtual VR.
That's what it was.
And then
I was working out, dying in my gym, like looking like a fucking crazy person. I was like, is he really getting on air and talking about
Well, what's funny is I had no idea it was, I didn't even know the ACE Awards were like, I didn't know when they were on. Like, it's not like I listen to the show I don't even listen to it. I'm on it. I don't listen.
Yeah.
I listen every once in a while, but it was back in December or whatever it was. I was playing golf and I turned my phone off when I'm playing golf, and then I get done and I see my Twitter and I got like 100 things.
Yeah.
And all they're like, congrats, man.
That's
Guest of the year. And I was
huge.
like, guest of the year. I go, what? And then I listened to the ASO. So I beat out Jerry Springer, Sammy the Bull Gravano.
Oh shit.
Dana
Be
Gould.
careful with that guy.
Yeah. Dana Gould.
I love him so much.
And who else did I beat? Barry Sonnenberg. Sonnenfeld, the director.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
Dan.
And it was like, but it was good, man. It's like, and I was out there when I did the last one, Chris, Laxmano was like, he and I had a talk and he's just like, yeah, man. He's like, Adam loves you, man. Like, you're always going to be, and I'm like, it's so weird. I knew the guy for so long and it was never different from the first time I met him till that time, until like the last 2 years. And then suddenly he's like, he invited me to his house to come watch football one day. Yeah. But I was like, yeah, I can't. Yeah, I was like, well, it was he's like, Rams
which house
game.
was it? Malibu or the one?
He just said, hey, we're watching the Rams game. If you want to come over, he didn't even tell. And it was like, and I'm like, yeah, I'm an Eagles fan. And he was like, oh yeah, we're not gonna have that on. So I was like, yeah.
That's a true person. I love that because I'd be the same way. I'm like, I'm a Dolphins fan. Sorry. I want to be in my shame at home alone.
Well, did I ever tell you? I mean, I know you got to go, but did I ever tell you what happened with the Super Bowl with the Eagles? So
no.
When the Eagles won the Super Bowl a couple of years ago, right? So two crazy things. One was we get to the NFC Championship game, which is in Philly against Minnesota. I don't know if you remember that. We beat the Vikings to go to the Super Bowl. So it's the Monday before the game, which is in Philly. This is Wentz got hurt. It's Nick Foles is the quarterback. So I'm friends with Neil Everett, Sports Center.
Yeah.
So Neil's one of my good buddies. So Neil texts me on that Monday before the game. He goes, hey, are you going to the NFC Championship? And I said, no. Going home for it. I go, nah, no plans. Like my brother has season tickets, but he sold them. And that's it. So then that night on Sports Center, so Neil mentions me on Sports Center a lot. He calls me Philly Dan Dunn. So that night he goes, Philly Dan Dunn, they did like a Super Bowl report, and then they come out of it and they're like, the reporter throws back in. They're like, Neil, and he goes, Philly Dan Dunn is looking for tickets. You look him up, we'll name a character after you in his next book. Right. I don't even see this. The next day I get an email from my buddy at Diageo, this guy, Jim Sias. And he's like, hey man, saw the shout out on Sports Center. Are you really looking for tickets? And I go, shit. Yeah.
Yeah, sure.
And he goes,
why the fuck not?
He goes, let me see what I can do.
And
that was it. And then Friday rolls around. Friday afternoon, he texts me and he goes, hey man, I got you a pair of seats. They're great seats. Do you want, I know it's less than 40, it's 48 hours away. Do you want them? And I'm like, fuck yeah, I want them. Yeah. Book a flight, fly out the next day, fly to Philly, go to the NFC Championship. We win the game. We're going to the Super Bowl. At the time, my book, American Wino, had been optioned by Happy Madison, Adam Sandler's company. And I'm in with those guys having a bunch. So fast forward to 4 days before the Super Bowl, like Thursday before the Super Bowl, this guy, Rob Digby, one of Sandler's guys, calls me. He's like, hey, man, do you want to go to the Super Bowl? I go, what? He's like, it was in Minnesota. And he goes, we're flying out of Burbank, private plane, Saturday morning, coming back Monday. One of the guys bailed. We got an extra spot. I know you're an Eagles guy. Do you want to go? Right. And I go, okay. So I go, well, who's going? Right. And he goes, me, Sandler, Spade, what's his name?
Rob Schneider.
Rob Schneider, me, Sandler, Spade, Schneider, and like one other dude. And I go, can I bring someone? Can I bring someone? So at the time, you got to realize there's a Eagles bar here called the Garage. And I got my cousin, my girlfriend at the time, who was big Eagles fan. We're all going, like we got the table, we get the whole space. It's all Eagles fans. We got the whole thing reserved. And I'm like, can I bring someone? He's like, no, dude, fucking. And I go, well, where am I going to stay? He's like, we'll take care of it. We'll get you a room, whatever. And I go, can I think about it? He's like, no, dude, do you want to get on a private plane Saturday morning with Adam Sandler and Spade and the crew? Go to the Super Bowl. We're going to the biggest fucking parties the night before the Super Bowl. We got a suite. And then we're going to go to the after party after the Super Bowl. And I'm like, but none of them they're not Eagles fans, right? And it was like a long pause. He's like, dude, what's wrong with you, man? And I go, nothing. Nothing's wrong with me, but like, this is a big moment in my life. The Eagles meant a lot to me.
You want to be with Eagles fans.
And I want to be with my people. I want to be with and he goes, so no, you don't want to go. He goes, it's all paid for. Everything's paid for. Like your ticket, everything, hotel, plane, everything.
Yeah.
And I go,
I'm dying right now.
And I go, nah, I'm going to stay here. Right. Oh, by the way, my now former manager, rightfully so, because the project never ended up happening with them. And my manager was like, dude. And looking back, if I could do it over, I would have gone.
Yeah, of course.
Not,
that's not
because of the game, but because of the career stuff.
Absolutely.
He goes, what the fuck, man? What the fuck? If you would have spent the whole weekend with him, you would have charmed the shit out of Sandler and but fucking this, and they would have made your fucking show. And I'm like, yeah.
But they're not Eagles fans.
But I got to see the game with my crew. He's
yeah.
Like, fucking idiot. Anyway, that's the end. All right, go to AOC.
Much love, brother.
Thank you.
Yeah, man. Let's hit me up we'll do it in the next couple of weeks.
All right, bro. Sounds good, dude.
Thanks for having me
Much
on.
love,
Thanks,
my dude.
Guys. All right.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Bye.